The research ship Quasar's Edge moved slowly through the dark space near Kepler 442b. Commander Hyun-woo stood on the bridge, watching the planet grow larger on the main screen. The world looked dead from space, brown and gray with no signs of life. "Still getting those strange readings, Commander," said Yoo-jin from her station. The young communications officer had been tracking unusual energy patterns for the past 3 days. "The signals are definitely artificial, but they don't match any known technology." Hyun-woo nodded. 300 years had passed since Earth went silent. The humans were supposed to be extinct, wiped out by some unknown disaster. Their home system was marked as a dead zone on every star chart. No one went there anymore. But these readings were different. They felt human somehow. "So young. What do you think?" Hyun-woo asked the ship's xenoarchaeologist. She had studied more dead civilizations than anyone else in the Galactic Coalition. So Young looked up from her datapad. "The patterns are consistent with pre-extinction human technology, but more advanced. Much more advanced than they should have been able to develop. The Coalition had records of humanity from before they disappeared. Humans were a young species, barely able to travel between stars. They had shown promise but lacked the sophisticated technology of older races like the Villani or the military might of the Thorak Empire. When Earth stopped responding to communication attempts, most assumed they had destroyed themselves in some primitive war. "Take us down to the surface," Hyun-woo ordered. "Dongmin, keep weapons ready, but don't target anything unless I give the order." The tactical officer nodded. Dongmin had served in 3 border conflicts and knew how to handle first contact situations. Even with a dead species, it paid to be careful. The ship descended through the planet's thin atmosphere. The surface was mostly rock and sand, with the remains of what might have been cities scattered across the continents. But the energy readings were coming from underground, beneath what looked like a natural hill. "There," So Young pointed to, a section of the hillside. "The readings are strongest in that area. I'm detecting metal structures about 50 meters down." They landed the shuttle near the hill and put on environmental suits. The air was breathable but cold, with a sharp wind that carried dust across the barren landscape. Yoo-jin carried a portable scanner while So Young brought her archaeological equipment. "The metal is definitely human in origin," So Young said as they reached the base of the hill. "But it's been hidden. Someone built this facility and then covered it to look natural. They found an entrance after 2 hours of searching. It was sealed with a heavy metal door that bore human writing. The symbols were in English, one of Earth's old languages. Emergency Research Station Omega-7, Yoo-jin read aloud. Authorized personnel only." Dongmin examined the door mechanism. "It's still powered. After 300 years, this thing still has power." The door opened with a soft hiss when So Young activated the control panel. Emergency lights flickered on, revealing a corridor that stretched deep into the earth. The walls were lined with more human writing and what looked like star charts. "The air inside is clean," Yoo-jin reported. "Temperature is controlled. This place is still fully operational." They moved deeper into the facility. The corridors were clean and well-maintained, as if someone had just left yesterday. They passed laboratories filled with equipment, sleeping, quarters, and storage areas packed with supplies. "Look at this," So Young called from one of the labs. She stood before a wall covered with technical diagrams. "These are designs for hibernation pods, advanced ones, much more sophisticated than anything in our historical records." Hyun-woo studied the diagrams. The technology shown was far beyond what humans were supposed to have possessed. "How is this possible? Our records show humans barely had basic life support systems." "Maybe our records were wrong," Dongmin suggested. "Maybe humans were more advanced than we thought." They reached the main chamber at the center of the facility. It was a large circular room with a raised platform in the center. Banks of computers lined the walls, their screens still glowing with data. And everywhere, there were charts, star maps showing routes out of the Sol system, marking safe passage through areas of space the Coalition had never explored. "Yoo-jin, can you access their computer systems?" Hyun-woo asked. The communications officer plugged her equipment into one of the terminals. It's going to take some time to decode their language protocols, but I'm getting some data. There are personal logs here, hundreds of them. Play the most recent one. A holographic display activated above the central platform. The image of a human male appeared, middle-aged, wearing a white coat with tired eyes and gray hair. This is Dr. Jinho recording final log entry for Emergency Research Station Omega-7, the image said. Today marks day 1147 of Project Deep Sleep. We have successfully placed the last group of volunteers into hibernation. The escape ships have departed for the rendezvous points in the outer rim. The hologram paused, and Dr. Jinho looked directly at the camera. If anyone finds this recording, know that we did not die. We chose to sleep. The long winter is beginning, but we will wake when the time is right. We will return to the stars when it is safe. The image flickered and disappeared. The 4 coalition officers stood in silence for several minutes. Finally, So Young spoke. They're not extinct, they went into hiding. But why? Yujin asked. What were they hiding from? Before anyone could answer, Dongmin's tactical scanner began beeping urgently. Commander, I'm detecting a ship approaching the planet. It's big and it's coming fast. Hyunwoo activated his communicator. Quasar's Edge, this is the away team. What's your status? Sir, we have an unidentified vessel dropping out of quantum slip space, came the reply from the ship. The design doesn't match any known configuration in our databases. Show me. The image appeared on Dongmin's scanner, a sleek ship with curved lines and unfamiliar markings. But there was something about it that looked familiar. The basic structure, the way the engines were positioned. That's a human ship, So Young whispered. It has to be. The communication system in the facility suddenly activated. A voice spoke in clear, unaccented coalition standard, the universal language used by all member species. This is Captain Tae-hyun of the human vessel Terra's Promise. We are responding to the activation of Emergency Research Station Omega-7. Please identify yourselves. Hyunwoo looked at his team, then stepped forward to the communication console. This is Commander Hyunwoo of the Coalition research vessel Quasar's Edge. We are a peaceful archaeological expedition. Understood, Commander. We are requesting permission to land. After 300 years of silence, it appears we have much to discuss. The 4 coalition officers exchanged glances. Everything they thought they knew about human extinction was wrong. The humans hadn't died. They had been waiting. And now they were back. The Terra's Promise landed gracefully beside the coalition shuttle. Hyunwoo and his team watched from the facility's observation deck as the ship's landing ramp lowered. The vessel was beautiful in a way that surprised them. Sleek and organic-looking, with smooth curves that seemed to flow like water. Their technology has definitely improved, Dongmin said, checking his scanners. That ship is generating power readings I've never seen before. 4 figures emerged from the human ship. They wore fitted suits that looked both practical and elegant. The leader stepped forward and removed his helmet, revealing a face that was unmistakably human. Dark hair, warm brown eyes, and skin weathered by years of space travel. That must be Captain Tae-hyun, So Young said. The humans approached the facility entrance with confident but careful steps. They moved like people who had spent their lives in dangerous places, but weren't afraid of new challenges. Hyunwoo led his team to the main entrance to meet them. When the doors opened, the 2 groups faced each other for the first time in 3 centuries. The moment felt heavy with history. Commander Hyunwoo, Tae-hyun said, extending his hand in the ancient, human gesture of greeting. It's an honor to meet representatives of the Galactic Coalition. Hyunwoo shook the offered hand, surprised by the firm grip and the warmth in the human's voice. Captain Tae-hyun, we have many questions. I'm sure you do. These are my crew. Members, Engineer Minji, Pilot Junho, and Diplomat Yunseo. Each human nodded politely as they were introduced. Please come inside, Hyunwoo said. We've discovered some of your people's records. As they walked through the facility, Tae-hyun's expression grew thoughtful. Omega-7. I've read about this. Place in our archives. Dr. Jinho was my great-great-grandfather. Your ancestor built this place? So Young asked. One of many. When we realized we needed to disappear, we built emergency stations like this throughout the galaxy, places where future generations could find supplies and information if needed. They reached the main chamber where Dr. Jinho's hologram had played earlier. Taehyun looked at the equipment with obvious emotion. He was a good man, Taehyun said, quietly. He helped save our species. Captain, Yujin spoke carefully. Our records show that Earth went silent 300 years ago. We believed your people were extinct. What really happened? Yoon Seo, the human diplomat, stepped forward. We detected something coming. Ships from outside our galaxy, moving slowly but steadily toward our space. We called them the Devourers, because that's what they did. They consumed entire star systems, turning everything into raw material for their expansion. We had a choice, Taehyun continued. Fight and probably lose, or disappear and prepare for a better opportunity. We chose to vanish. But how? Dongmin asked. Moving an entire species. We didn't move everyone at once, Minji explained. Her voice had the practical tone of someone who solved complex problems for a living. We spent decades building hidden colonies in dark space, the empty regions between star systems. Generation. Ships, asteroid bases, artificial habitats, places where we could survive unseen. The hibernation technology we found here? So Young asked. Part of the plan. Some stayed awake to maintain our civilization and continue developing technology. Others went into deep sleep to preserve genetic diversity and cultural knowledge. We've been rotating people in and out of hibernation for 3 centuries. Junho, the pilot, added. We've been watching the galaxy all this time, learning your languages, studying your cultures, mapping your territories. We wanted to understand the coalition before revealing ourselves. Watching us? Hyunwoo felt a chill. How closely? Close enough to know that Admiral Seok Jin of the Thorak Empire has been expanding military operations near human space, Yoon Seo said. Close enough to know that the Villani Science Council has been searching for new technologies to study. Close enough to know that the Kresh merchants have been looking for untapped markets. The coalition officers exchanged glances. These humans knew far more about current galactic politics than any species that had been isolated for 3 centuries should know. We've had observers in coalition space for decades, Taehyun admitted. Humans with enough genetic modification to pass as other species. We needed to understand what kind of galaxy we would be returning to. Why return now? Hyunwoo asked. Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Yujin checked her communicator, and her face went pale. Commander, this is Quasar's edge. We're detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of the system. Multiple contacts, unknown configuration. They're big, sir. Really big. Taehyun's expression hardened. They found us. Who found us? Dongmin demanded. The Devourers. They've been following the quantum trail from our ship. We knew this was a risk, but we had to make contact. Minji was already working at one of the facility's computer terminals. I'm reading at least 50 ships, each one the size of a small moon. They're moving toward the inner system. How long until they reach us? Taehyun asked. 18 hours at their current speed. Yoon Seo turned to the coalition team. Commander, you need to evacuate your people immediately. Contact your superiors and tell them what's coming. The Devourers aren't just our problem anymore. What about you? So Young asked. We fight, Taehyun said simply. It's why we came. Out of hiding. The Devourers have started moving again, consuming worlds on the galactic rim. We've been tracking their expansion for months. You're going to fight 50 ships with one vessel? Dongmin sounded incredulous. Junho smiled for the first time since landing. Who said we only had one ship? Minji activated a long-range scanner built into the facility. The display showed space around the planet, and suddenly it was filled with contacts. Dozens of ships began appearing as their stealth systems deactivated. They had been hidden in the asteroid field, waiting. The Terra's promise was just the diplomatic vessel, Taehyun explained. We brought a full battle fleet. We've been preparing for this fight for 300 years. Hyunwoo stared at the display. The human ships were unlike anything in Coalition databases, organic-looking vessels that seemed to shift and change shape as he watched. Their design suggested technology far beyond what the Coalition possessed. "Commander," Yujin said urgently, "Admiral Seok Jin is demanding an immediate report. The Thorak fleet is moving to intercept what they're calling an invasion force." "Tell the Admiral to stop," Yun Seo said quickly. "If the Thorak attack us while the Devourers are approaching, we'll all be destroyed." The Coalition forces don't know about the Devourers, Hyun Woo realized. They only see human ships appearing in their space. "Then we need to talk to them," Taehyun said. "Fast. Before someone starts shooting and ruins everyone's day." Yun Seo stepped forward. "Commander, I request immediate communication with Coalition leadership. As the official diplomatic representative of the Human Confederacy, I'm prepared to offer an alliance against a mutual threat." "Human Confederacy?" So Young repeated. "What we call ourselves now. We're not the same species that left Earth 3 centuries ago. We've grown stronger, smarter, and more united. We've had to be." The A facility's communication system crackled to life. "This is Admiral Seok Jin of the Thorak Imperial Fleet. Unknown vessels, you are in violation of Coalition space. Identify yourselves immediately or we will open fire." Taehyun looked at Hyun Woo. "Commander, I think it's time for introductions. The galaxy is about to discover that humans aren't extinct after all." Outside, through the facility's windows, they could see the first human ships rising from the asteroid field. Their hulls gleamed with an inner light, and their engines left trails of blue fire across the stars. Humanity had returned to the galaxy. The question now was whether the Coalition would welcome them back or try to destroy them before the real enemy arrived. The emergency meeting aboard Admiral Seok Jin's flagship was tense. The Coalition leaders had gathered via hologram: Villani scientists, Thorak military officers, and Kresh trade representatives. In the center of the room, Yun Seo stood calmly. While weapons were pointed at her from every direction, "You claim to represent an extinct species." Admiral Seok Jin growled. The Thorak's scaled face showed no emotion, but his voice carried barely controlled anger. "Explain how this is possible." "We were never extinct, Admiral. We chose to disappear." Yun Seo's voice remained steady despite being surrounded by hostile aliens. "We've been preparing for this day for 300 years. Hyun Woo stood beside her, serving as a witness to everything they had discovered. "Admiral, I've seen their facilities. Their technology is real and it's advanced, more advanced than ours." "Impossible," snorted Commander Bekska of the Kresh Federation. "Humans were barely capable of interstellar flight when they vanished." "That's what we wanted you to believe," Yun Seo replied. "We studied every species in the Coalition before we went into hiding. We learned that the galaxy's political structure was based on technological superiority. We decided to let you think we were primitive." The hologram of High Researcher Mel An of the Villani flickered as she leaned forward. "What evidence do you have of these devourers you claim are approaching?" Before Yun Seo could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the fleet. A Thorak communications officer rushed to Admiral Seok Jin's side. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting massive contacts at the edge of the system. 50-plus vessels, each one larger than our biggest dreadnoughts. They're moving toward us." "Show me," the Admiral ordered. The main display activated, showing space near the system's outer edge. What they saw made everyone in the room fall silent. The Devourer ships were enormous. Dark, twisted things that looked more like living creatures than machines. They moved with organic purpose, their hulls covered in what looked like scales or shells. "By the ancestors," whispered Commander Bekska. "What are those things?" "Death," said a new voice. The human captain Taehyun materialized as a hologram in the center of the room. "They consume everything: planets, stars, entire civilizations. They turn it all into material to build more ships." "How do you know so much about them?" "Admiral," Seokjin demanded. "Because they destroyed our original home galaxy 2 million years ago. Humans aren't originally from the Milky Way, Admiral. We're refugees from the Andromeda Galaxy." Our ancestors fled here when the Devourers consumed our birth worlds. The room erupted in shocked voices. Hyun-woo felt his understanding of galactic history shift completely. That's impossible. Our archaeological records show human development on Earth going back millions of years. Your archaeological records show the development of the species we became, Taehyun corrected. The original human colonists arrived on Earth 2 million years ago and adapted to the planet over time. We seeded our own evolutionary development to blend in with the natural history. You're saying humans are an ancient species? Hi, researcher. Melon's voice was filled with scientific excitement. That your technology has been developing for millions of years? Not continuously. We lost most of our advanced technology during the evacuation from Andromeda. We spent the last 2 million years rebuilding, but we never forgot what we were running from. Admiral Seok-jin studied the approaching Devourer fleet. These ships are massive. Our combined fleet numbers 300 vessels, but those 50 ships outmass us 10 to 1. Numbers aren't everything, said another voice. A new human appeared in the room, an older woman with silver hair and eyes like steel. I'm Admiral Kyung-soo of the Human Defense Force. We've been studying Devourer tactics for 3 centuries. We know how to hurt them. 1 human fleet against 50 Devourer ships? Commander Bekska laughed bitterly. That's suicide. Not 1 fleet, Admiral Kyung-soo smiled. Commander Dongmin, you've been working with our tactical specialist Sunmi for the past hour. What has she shown you? Dongmin had been assigned to work with the humans while the diplomatic meeting continued. He looked embarrassed as he activated his datapad. Admiral, the human tactical analysis is impressive. They've identified 17 critical weaknesses in Devourer ship design. Show them, Admiral Kyung-soo ordered. The display changed to show detailed schematics of a Devourer vessel. Red markers highlighted specific areas throughout the ship's structure. Sunmi's voice came through the communication system. Devourers build their ships like living creatures. They have circulatory systems, nervous systems, even digestive systems. Hit the right spots and the whole ship dies. Coalition tactics focus on overwhelming firepower. Dongmin continued, reading from his notes. Human tactics focus on precision strikes and psychological warfare. Psychological warfare? Admiral Seok-jin sounded skeptical. Against aliens? Devourers are a collective consciousness, Taehyun explained. They share thoughts and experiences across their entire species. If we hurt them badly enough, the pain and fear spreads through their whole fleet. We've done this before, Admiral Kyung-soo added. 17 times over the past 3 centuries we've fought Devourer scouting fleets. We've learned how they think, how they fight, and how they die. The tactical display changed again, showing human ship formations. The vessels moved in patterns, unlike anything the Coalition had ever used, organic, flowing movements that looked almost like a dance. Human ships are designed for 3-dimensional combat, Sunmi explained. Coalition forces fight like they're on a 2-dimensional ocean. We fight like we're in space. Admiral Seok-jin studied the formations. As a military officer, he could see the tactical advantages immediately. Your ships can attack from any angle, simultaneously. That's not even our best advantage, said a new voice. Captain Haewon materialized next to Admiral Kyung-soo, a younger woman who shared the Admiral's sharp features. Our real advantage is that we don't fear death. Explain, High Researcher Melon demanded. Quantum consciousness transfer, Haewon said simply. Every human in our fleet has their consciousness backed up in real time. If our ship is destroyed, we download into a new body and keep fighting. You're immortal? Hyun-woo asked, stunned. We're persistent, Taehyun corrected. It took us centuries to perfect the technology, but yes, death is temporary for us now. It makes us very effective in combat. Commander Bekska leaned forward. What do you want from the Coalition? Alliance, Yunseo said immediately. The Devourers aren't just hunting humans anymore. They've decided this galaxy has enough resources to begin major expansion. They'll consume every world here if we don't stop them. And if we refuse? Admiral Seok-jin asked. Then you fight them alone while we disappear back into dark space, Admiral Kyung-soo replied. But you won't win. The Coalition's military doctrine wasn't designed for this kind of enemy. The room fell silent as the Coalition leaders considered their options. On the display, the Devourer fleet continued its approach. Long-range sensors showed more ships emerging from quantum space behind the first wave. How many ships are coming? Hyun-woo asked quietly. Our deep space monitors detected over 300 vessels in the initial assault wave, Sunmi reported. This isn't a scouting mission. This is an invasion. Admiral Seok-jin made his decision. What do you need from us? Everything, Admiral Kyung-soo said. Every ship, every weapon, every warrior you can spare. This battle will determine the fate of the galaxy. You'll have it, the Admiral replied. Coalition Command, prepare all fleets for immediate deployment. We're going to war. As the holographic meeting ended, Hyun-woo found himself standing beside Hyun-seo in the suddenly quiet room. Will this alliance work? He asked. Hyun-seo looked at the approaching Devourer fleet on the display. It has to, Commander. Because if it doesn't, everyone in this galaxy dies. Outside the windows, human and coalition ships began moving into formation. For the first time in 3 centuries, humanity was fighting alongside other species instead of hiding from them. The question was whether 300 years of preparation would be enough. The battle had been won, but at a terrible cost. Sanctuary Prime, one of the Coalition's most important worlds, lay in ruins. The Devourer attack had been stopped, but only after half the planet's surface had been consumed. Millions were dead, and the survivors faced an uncertain future. Hyun-seo stood in the ruins of the planetary capital, serving as the human ambassador to the emergency refugee camps. She had spent the last 3 days helping coordinate relief efforts between human and coalition forces. The work was heartbreaking, but it had also brought the species closer together. The medical supplies from the human ships arrived this morning, reported Dr. Woo Jin, the Coalition's chief medical officer for the refugee operation. Your people's healing technology is remarkable. We've saved patients who would have died with our equipment. We've had a lot of practice treating combat injuries, Hyun-seo replied sadly. 3 centuries of fighting the Devourers teaches you about trauma medicine. She was reviewing supply reports when her communicator buzzed with an urgent message. Chang Ho, the lead Vellani representative, needed to see her immediately. His message was marked with the highest security classification. Hyun-seo found Chang Ho in the temporary Coalition Command Center, hunched over a data terminal with a disturbed expression on his scaled face. Around him, stacks of ancient documents and data crystals covered every available surface. Ambassador, thank you for coming, Chang Ho said without looking up. I've been researching historical records, trying to understand how the Devourers found us so quickly. What I've discovered is troubling. What kind of records? Hyun-seo asked, though something in Chang Ho's tone made her nervous. Coalition. Formation documents. Historical archives from 400 years ago. Records that were classified until recently. Chang Ho finally looked at her, and his large eyes were filled with pain. Hyun-seo, the Coalition wasn't formed peacefully. He activated the main display showing a star map of the galaxy from centuries past. Dozens of systems were marked in red, with dates and brief descriptions. The Vellani expansion period, Chang Ho, read from the documents. The Great Thorak Conquest, the Kresh Resource Wars. We didn't create the Coalition by bringing together equals, Ambassador. We created it by destroying everyone who was too weak to resist. Hyun-seo studied the map, her diplomatic training helping her see the pattern immediately. You systematically eliminated smaller species. 73 documented civilizations over a period of 50 years, Chang Ho confirmed. Some were absorbed into our cultures. Most were simply wiped out when they refused to submit. We told ourselves it was necessary for galactic stability. Why are you showing me this? Hyun-seo asked, though she was beginning to understand. Chang Ho activated another display, this one showing energy signatures and quantum resonance patterns. Because I've been analyzing the Devourer attack patterns, and I've made a connection. Look at this. The display showed the quantum signature of the Devourer fleet alongside historical data from one of the extinct civilizations. The patterns matched perfectly. The Zenthali Empire, Chang Ho whispered. They were the most advanced species the Coalition destroyed. They had developed quantum consciousness technology, the ability to upload minds into energy patterns. We thought we had wiped them out completely 400 years ago. You think the Devourers are the Zenthali? Yunseo felt a chill run down her spine. I think the Devourers are what the Zenthali became. When we destroyed their physical forms, their uploaded consciousness survived. They've spent 4 centuries in space growing stronger and more angry. Now they're back for revenge. Yunseo stared at the evidence, her mind racing through the implications. Chang Ho, if this is true, then the Coalition is responsible for creating the threat that's now trying to destroy the galaxy, Chang Ho finished. And your people fled Earth not just because the Devourers were coming, but because they knew we were coming too. The truth hit Yunseo like a physical blow. The human exodus hadn't been just about the Devourers. Her ancestors had been running from Coalition expansion as well. Earth's disappearance had saved humanity from being absorbed or destroyed like so many other species. Does Admiral Seok Jin know about this? She asked. The Thorak Empire has always been proud of their conquest period. They call it the Great Unification in their history books. They know exactly what they did. And the Kresh? Merchant records going back centuries. They profited from every conquest by claiming the resources of destroyed worlds. They know too. Yunseo felt sick. The alliance between humans and the Coalition was based on fighting a common enemy. But that enemy had been created by Coalition actions. We need to tell the other humans. I've already sent the data to Captain Tae Hyun and Admiral Kyung-soo, Chang Ho said. Their response was interesting. A new hologram activated in the room. Commander Byung-ho appeared, a human. Officer Yunseo had never met before. His face was hard and his voice was cold. Ambassador Yunseo, you are ordered to return to the fleet immediately. The Human High Council has new orders for all diplomatic personnel. Commander, I'm in the middle of relief operations. There are thousands of refugees who need. The refugees are Coalition citizens, not our responsibility. Byung-ho interrupted. The High Council has decided that the Coalition created this threat through their own actions. We're withdrawing from the alliance. What? Yunseo couldn't believe what she was hearing. Byung-ho, the Devourers will destroy everything if we don't work together. Let them. The Coalition destroyed 73 civilizations to build their empire. Perhaps it's time for that empire to fall. We'll protect human worlds and let the galaxy sort itself out. Chang Ho stepped forward. Commander, with respect, the current generation of Coalition citizens had nothing to do with those ancient crimes. Billions of innocent people will die. Innocent? Byung-ho laughed bitterly. The Thorax still celebrate their conquest victories. The Kresh still profit from stolen resources. The Villani still study artifacts taken from destroyed civilizations. Your hands aren't clean. The hologram flickered off, leaving Yunseo and Chang Ho in uncomfortable silence. He's not wrong, Chang Ho admitted quietly. We did terrible things. We just never had to face the consequences before. Yunseo activated, her communicator trying to reach Captain Tae Hyun. The response was immediate but not encouraging. Yunseo, I'm sorry, but the vote was unanimous. Tae Hyun's voice was filled with regret. The Human High Council has decided to withdraw from Coalition space. We're offering safe passage to any human civilians who want to come with us, but the military alliance is over. Tae Hyun, you can't do this. The Devourers won't stop with Coalition worlds. They'll come for human space too. Maybe. But at least we'll face them as a united species, not as allies of the people who created them. The communication ended, leaving Yunseo staring at the dead device. Around them, the refugee camps continued their desperate work, unaware that their greatest hope for survival had just abandoned them. What do we do now? Chang Ho asked. Yunseo looked out the window at the human ships beginning to move away from the planet. In the distance, Coalition vessels watched helplessly as their most powerful allies prepared to leave. We find another way, she said quietly. There has to be another solution. But as she watched the human fleet disappear into quantum space, Yunseo wondered if she was wrong. Perhaps some crimes were too great to forgive, even when forgiveness was the galaxy's only hope for survival. In the ruins of Sanctuary Prime, the weight of 4 centuries of galactic politics was finally coming due, and the price might be everyone's extinction. Captain Heiwan floated in the darkness of space, her ship destroyed around her. The Eternal Dawn had been torn apart by Devourer weapons 3 minutes ago, but her consciousness had already transferred to a backup body aboard the Terra's Promise. She opened her eyes in the medical bay, immediately demanding a status report. "The Coalition is losing," reported her aide, Lieutenant Junseo. "Admiral Seok Jin's fleet has been reduced to 30% strength. The Villani science vessels are completely destroyed. Only the Kresh merchant ships managed to escape." Heiwan pulled herself upright, ignoring the disorientation that always followed consciousness transfer. "What about our fleet?" 60% operational, but Commander Byung-ho is still refusing to engage. He says the Coalition deserves whatever happens to them. 3 days had passed since the human withdrawal from the Alliance. In that time, the Devourers had destroyed 8 more worlds and were advancing toward the galactic core. The Coalition was fighting desperately, but without human technology and tactics, they were being systematically crushed. "Get me a line to the High Council," Heiwan ordered. The holographic chamber activated, showing the 12 members of the Human High Council. Commander Byung-ho sat at the center, his face showing no emotion as he listened to the battle reports. "Captain Heiwan," Byung-ho acknowledged, "your ship performed admirably before its destruction. The Devourers took heavy casualties. We could have saved those Coalition ships if you hadn't ordered us to withdraw," Heiwan replied angrily. "Thousands of beings died because we abandoned them. Thousands of beings who belonged to species that destroyed 73 civilizations." Byung-ho reminded her, "The galaxy is simply experiencing justice, Captain. This isn't justice, this is revenge. And revenge destroys everyone, including those seeking it." Another council member, Commander Young-soo, leaned forward. "Captain, we understand your concerns, but the decision has been made. Humanity will survive this conflict by remaining neutral." "Will we?" Heiwan activated her own data display. "Data. I've been analyzing Devourer expansion patterns. They're not just targeting Coalition worlds anymore. They're consuming everything, including systems where human refugees have been hiding." The council chamber fell silent as they studied her data. Red markers showed Devourer fleets moving toward areas of space that had been human territory for centuries. "They found our hidden colonies in the Tau Epsilon sector," Heiwan continued. 7 million humans in hibernation, wiped out while we debated politics. The Devourers don't care about our neutrality. To them, we're just another food source." Commander Byung-ho's confident expression began to crack. "Those colonies were supposed to be invisible. The Devourers have learned to track quantum consciousness, signatures. Every time we transfer between bodies, we create a trail they can follow. Our greatest technological advantage has become our greatest weakness." Counselor Yun-ji spoke up from the back of the chamber. "What are you proposing, Captain?" "That we stop running and start fighting. Not for the Coalition, but for every living being in this galaxy, including ourselves." "The Coalition betrayed us," Byung-ho insisted. "They're responsible for creating this threat." "Maybe they are, but destroying them won't make the Devourers go away. It will just leave us alone to face an enemy that's growing stronger every day." Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Junseo rushed to Heiwan's side with a grim expression. "Captain, we're receiving an emergency transmission from Junseo. She's at the galactic core and she's found something important." The transmission activated, showing Ambassador Junseo in what looked like an ancient chamber filled with crystalline formations. Her face was streaked with dirt and exhaustion, but her eyes held desperate hope. "Tae-hyun, if you're receiving this, I'm inside a Zenthali archive on Galactic Core Prime. The Devourers aren't just the uploaded consciousness of the Zenthali people. They're the tortured, insane remnant of what was once a peaceful civilization." The image flickered as explosions echoed in the background. The original Zenthali were explorers and philosophers, They developed quantum consciousness technology to achieve immortality and share knowledge across their empire. But when the Coalition attacked their worlds, the trauma of watching their people die broke their collective mind. For 400 years, they've been trapped in a cycle of pain and rage, reliving the moment of their destruction over and over. That's why they consume everything. They're trying to fill the emptiness left by the loss of their physical forms. Another explosion shook the chamber, and Yunseo grabbed the wall for support. But I've found their original consciousness archives, the pure, undamaged memories from before the Coalition attack. If we can upload these memories back into the Devourer collective, we might be able to restore their sanity. The only problem is that the upload has to be done from here, at the galactic core, and the Devourers have surrounded this system. I need backup, and I need it now. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. She's offering us a way to end this without destroying anyone, Haewon said quietly. We can heal the Devourers instead of killing them. It's suicide, Byung-ho protested. The galactic core is surrounded by their entire fleet. Then we'll have to go through them, said a new voice. Admiral Kyung-soo materialized in the chamber, her expression determined. I'm taking a volunteer fleet to the galactic core. Anyone who wants to come can follow me. Anyone who wants to hide can stay here. Mother, you can't, Haewon said. The casualties will be enormous. Sometimes the right choice is also the hard choice, Admiral Kyung-soo replied. Unseo is offering us a chance to save everyone, humans, coalition species, and even the Devourers themselves. That's worth any risk. Commander Young-soo stood up in the council chamber. Admiral, you don't have the authority to commit human forces without council approval. Then I resign from the Defense Force, Admiral Kyung-soo said simply. This is a volunteer mission now. Anyone who believes in saving lives instead of seeking revenge can join me. The challenge hung in the air for several seconds. Then one by one, other human officers began standing up throughout the fleet, announcing their intention to join the mission. Commander Byung-ho watched as his carefully built neutrality crumbled around him. You're going to get everyone killed, for the sake of our enemies. No, Haewon said, moving to stand beside her mother. We're going to save everyone for the sake of our principles. She turned to address the entire human fleet through the communication system. This is Captain Haewon. We have a chance to end this war without destroying anyone. We can heal the galaxy's wounds instead of adding to them. Who's willing to take that chance? The response was immediate and overwhelming. Ship after ship reported their intention to join the mission to the galactic core. Even some coalition vessels that had been monitoring human communications volunteered to help. This is Admiral Seok-jin, came a transmission from the battered Thorak fleet. If humans are willing to die to save their enemies, then the coalition can do no less. We'll provide whatever support we can. By the time the final count was complete, nearly 2/3 of both the human and coalition fleets had volunteered for the mission. It was the largest joint force either group had ever assembled. As they prepared to jump to the galactic core, Haewon found herself standing beside Chang-ho, the Villani researcher who had uncovered the truth about the Devourer's origin. Do you think this will work? Chang-ho asked. I don't know, Haewon admitted. But I know that trying to heal is better than choosing to destroy. The fleet jumped to quantum space, heading toward the most dangerous battle in galactic history. But for the first time since the crisis began, they were fighting for hope instead of revenge. And at the galactic core, Ambassador Yunseo held the key to saving everyone, if the fleet could reach her in time. The final battle was about to begin, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Win, and the galaxy would be healed. Lose, and every living being would be consumed by the endless hunger of the Devourers. But as the combined human coalition fleet emerged from quantum space around the galactic core, facing the assembled might of the Devourer armada, one thing was clear. They were no longer running from the stars. They were walking back into them together.